Hey, everybody. Glad to have you here on this terrific Tuesday. I need to come up with a word to go with each day of the week. So we'll call this Terrific Tuesday. And today we're focusing on our AI at work, our Tuesday meetings, and our plan to action, your AI playbook. And I found this little elephant because when you tackle a big project, they always say, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? That sounds pretty horrible in our current environmental outlook on the world. But at any rate, this cute little elephant looks like he's ready to serve us some dinner. So that's why I chose him. So, for those of you who have been with me before, I'm going to do one other little thing to make it easier to go through these slides, and that is view, page display. It enables scrolling. So, if any of you guys have to get into Adobe or Reader and you find that your pages just flip, you get towards the end of one and it just flips to the next, you can go out and follow these steps and it lets you scroll so things are a little smoother. So, there's your little side tech tip for today. And of course, if you guys have been with us, the things on these slides are going to be pretty familiar. And while we're sitting here, let's see, Rachel, I think, is going to put this set of slides out here for you. So you've got your links and you can download this. It's pretty easy to download these slides. And they also have other links on them that will be helpful for you as you move along. And of course, we're getting together because AI is happening now, not in the future sometimes. Lots of times people think, oh gosh, this is going to be 5 or 6 years in the future. It's not. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when computers were a new thing. Computers, yeah, there were those big mainframes in the background, but then computers started showing up on desktops. And man, it was like almost overnight, there were computers on everybody's desk. And AI is like that. Of course, it's here, it's moving rapidly. Employees know how to use it. They're going to be able to help either their own company or help their employers. They're going to become more highly valued in the workplace. And people who don't learn how to use it are going to get left behind. And of course, any more success is less about what you got trained in and what you know, it's about what you can do. And of course, the financial perspectives. I'm not going to read all the way through this for you, but I think it's good to focus on what it means. And that is that we have found that work becomes more enjoyable and we're all becoming more valuable in the role that we're playing. And of course, we can provide services or products in more elegant ways so that we can earn more ultimately. And if we can help or teach our clients how to use AI or we use AI on their behalf, we become their heroes. Those are all worthwhile things in our day to day work. Agreements, we're recording. We'll get those recordings out to you in 5 to 7 business days. Laura set up a lovely page that shows all of our recordings with the handouts that you can get. And if you aren't already in our list, you can write into AI and Tech at infoplusacct.com for a link to get regular reminders in your registration. We will close the doors to the workshop when we first share files to download, usually 10 to 12 minutes after we start. And that prevents interruptions for the people who do show up on time. So those who are here, thank you for being here on time. And of course, just that reminder about confidential information. You can use either confidential or pretend information in your own chat GPT. Work on your work is what we advise as consultants. And you're going to see me do that today. I'm going to put in something that a project that I wanted to get rolling today. But when you get together in your breakout groups, don't display or share client or team member names or financial information. Of course, just that's common courtesy. And we'll have breakout sessions. There will be a timer on your screen showing how long is left in your breakout session. And then there will be a short delay before you rejoin the Zoom meeting. Don't leave because it will make you feel like you got booted out, but you really didn't. And you'll come back in. And also, as a reminder, those breakout sessions are not recorded. In the background of the breakout sessions, I will be running my own chat GPT. So if you feel like coming out and watching me do that, but it's really usually more fun for you to do it on your own. And you could, if you wanted to see those recordings, you could go back in and see them out on the web page. when we let you know they're available. I got involved in AI a little over a year ago and I got hooked. And then I joined this simple AI consultants group. There are over 100 of us consultants where we're sharing AI training and creative applications. We got some great training options out there. If any of you guys want to jump in and ask me for more information on those training sessions that they offer, which are much more in depth. Of course, what we're doing here is just trying to get you to get your fingers into Chat GPT and just try some things and see what are just some of on the surface level, some of the things that you can do with it. And of course, in Simple, we have a program where you can use it for every role within every organization on a training level. So to get in and train your people using those classes. Today, we're going to download and save this PDF slide deck, and then we're going to, oh, and I said today's book overview. I'm sorry, this should say prompt, and put that into your Chat GPT. So there was something left over from our book work last time. And we're going to ask Chat GPT today to create a set of steps so that you can get a big project completed over time. Laura and I were talking about this yesterday, and she's going, well, I can't think of any projects, maybe some examples. So here are the examples so that you can establish a process and a timeline for things like, and these are just some examples, going through your drawers and files and getting them trashed or organized, getting this year's taxes ready for yourself or your company, establishing your annual budget, yours or your company's, clearing out the basement or the garage or your closets. Just look at your big list of stuff to get done and find something that's been a challenge, something you've put off, something you've been procrastinating on, something you go, oh, I just don't even want to think about it. Okay, I don't know if any of you have any of those, but I have lots. At any rate, be thinking about that because that's what you're going to be working on. Think of a project. So we're going to spend 12 minutes. You'll put the prompt in, you'll work on your individual results, and then we'll spend 12 minutes in breakout to collaborate and discuss your results. And I've got a screen called Reflections that you can take a look at to get the juices rolling. And then we'll spend a few minutes with group takeaways and a wrap up, as well as then we'll have another AI tip. I try to find something to share with you guys each time. Sometimes those tips might be things you know, other times they might be things you don't know. So there you go. You'll have to wait and see what's out there. So let's do 12 minutes of library time. I think we're at our 10 minutes, and so this is when we close the doors. So you guys are exclusive now. Nobody else gets to come in. We're waiting. I'm not hearing any knocking. So the prompt from the text file that we're going to be putting out in the chat for you right now. This is going to be our prompt file, and you only have to make one change in this one. And this is interesting because prompts don't always turn out the same way for everybody. So we're going to see how this goes. I tested it 2 or 3 times until I was fairly happy with what I got. But this is the only thing you can just do Control A like this, Control A, which highlights everything, and then Control C, and then go over into Chat GPT and do your Control V or paste. You can right click and paste too. So I'm so used to using those shortcuts because you can always do the copy and the paste. All right. But I like the Control C and Control V. So when you put this into your chat, all you have to fill in here is I'm trying to, and then you're going to put your goal or your project right here.
And that's just a replacement. So the left parentheses, insert goal here, right parentheses, just replace that whole little text phrase with what you're going to try and get more information from ChatGPT about.
And can I see some nods? Do people have projects that they can put in? Have you thought of a project? Yep. Okay, good. I would say I'm going to do one other little thing here, and I'll just show you, of course, what mine looks like. And so my project is I want to create 10 new lead magnets related to using AI at work to increase profitability for all roles and all levels within every type of organization. And then there wasn't very much I had to fill in. It's going to start asking me some questions, and it will do that for you. I'm going to pull up our timer, which is right here, and that will be on the screen. Any questions from anybody before we start?
I'm not seeing any questions in the meeting chat so far.
Okay. Is everybody excited? We're going to conquer one of those big projects. Yeah, right. Okay. And I'm going to mute myself and maybe turn off my camera too. And I'll see you guys back in 12 minutes. See you soon. You've got about 1 minute left. Okay, so that is our 12 minutes. How's everybody doing? Can you put something in the chat? Let me know. Did you get through it? I'm seeing a nod or two. I'm hearing that people said it was working well for you, so good. And again, if you didn't get quite through it, you're fine. I'm going to slide on to the next slide. So the timer will sit inside your breakout rooms. And so if one of the things you can do when you guys get together, Rachel's going to split you guys up into groups. And then if you could just choose somebody to take some notes and then to share the takeaways when we get back together and just discuss what you thought of your results with your group. And then on the next slide, you might want to screenshot this because if you're working with each other, you won't see it anymore. So just give me a second here. And in the background, I'm going to run the prompt in Chat GPT in the main session. We'll record it, and then you can go back and watch that later if you'd like. But here are some things. That's why I said you might want to screenshot this. Things like what surprised you about the response you received, which thing feels most useful and why, and then any other challenges or barriers that might come up when you try applying these suggestions. Okay, Rachel, I'm going to leave it up to you can you let people know what's happening with the breakout rooms? I so appreciate Rachel doing this in the background.
I think that you'll be prompted to accept the request to go into a breakout room.
Yeah, this gives you guys a chance to know each other a little bit and share ideas and talk about what you've been doing with ChatGPT.
Looks like everybody's out in a breakout room now.
Okay, good. I think it's time for me to probably go over and start with okay, so rather than running this from scratch and filling in all the answers, I'm just going to review what I did. Now, everybody knows what the chat is like. If somebody's watching a recording, of course, you can pick up the prompt. And so here's the prompt that I put in. And the one thing I did fill in, so this is a little different on mine. I said for this prompt, ignore any prior memories you have of me, which always gives you a clean slate to work from. And so here's what I'm going to do. This is my goal. I'm going to try to create 10 new lead magnets related to using AI at work to increase profitability for all roles and all levels within every type of organization. And if you don't know what a lead magnet is, some people don't, it's a marketing term. It just means that you're giving something away for free that has value and that would make it so that if somebody signs up to get it, then you also have them in your broadcast list to let them know about any other things that are coming up in the future. So this is the rest of what the prompt was. And so the first thing it wanted to know is let's get started by understanding your role and company structure. And so the answer that I selected was A. And so I have a whole background thing about what's my role in the company. And I copied and pasted it in here. So that's something that you might want to do because it's something that comes up regularly. Just keep a text file or something in the background that you can copy and paste.
Diane, I
And
really like the additional details that you provided with it. It wouldn't have occurred to me to do something like that in mine. I said, oh, what was it, A, B, C, D, whichever one I chose. But I really like the idea of providing some of the additional details in there because I'm betting it'll really be helpful when you go further on down. So instead of just being really generic, a generic description, you can get really detailed in what you're providing it. Thank you.
And the other thing is I'm not asking it to create the lead magnets. I'm just really asking it to give me a process to do that.
That's a good clarification. Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So in this case, I'm just giving it more background information. I just feel like the more context I can give it, the more it's going to give me answers that will be more useful, hopefully.
Really.
Worst case is I'm giving it extra information that it doesn't need. So there you
Mhm.
go. And in this case, I also said my personal bio is located here. And because I'm working in 4.0, it will go out and take a look at the website on my bio page too. Little tips as you go along. Okay,
Awesome.
so it comes back, and now the prompt has been set up to go through and ask me a whole series of questions. And so it says, what's my role? And I answered D, all of the above, because as a small company, you end up wearing a lot of different hats, and these are different angles on those hats. And so I said, yep, do it all. I've got other people that help me, but these are the pieces that I do. I'm involved in client consulting and training as well as the direction of the company and so on. So I selected D. How many people are currently in your company? I put 4 to 6. We have a total of 4 people, including myself. How many 5-day work weeks do you have in mind to achieve the goal of creating 10 new lead magnets? And I ended up saying 8 weeks. That would be ideal. Will other people be involved? Yes, multiple team members. I said D, all of the above. Some tasks I'll handle alone, others will involve different team members. You can use combinations in your answers for these kinds of things. And in the prompt, it said, what kind of questions do I want ChatGPT to ask me? Okay, which aspects of creating these lead magnets do you anticipate requiring the most time and effort? And I said, all of them, basically everything. A, B, and C, those are all going to take time and energy. And then it gives me a nice little summary of what ChatGPT has learned so far, repeating back to me. Have you ever learned that when you're talking to somebody, you're supposed to repeat back what you heard? Well, that's what it's doing, it's confirming. And if for some reason I disagreed with any of this, I could have told it. So, next steps. Do you want me to create that detailed weekly timeline, including assigned tasks for each week, team member roles for collaboration, estimated hours per step, including breakdowns for collaborative efforts? I learned this in my testing that I needed to let it know that if we were having a collaboration meeting, that it should put in the time for each of the people involved in that collaboration meeting. And this is what comes of testing. Sometimes you find that you need to go back and clarify things. And so because I tested this a couple times, I knew to say somewhere along the line that I wanted that collaboration in there.
I really like you calling that out, Diane, because when I was doing my example, I knew that it was something that I would be doing mostly by myself, so I didn't have to worry about the coordination of working with other team members. So the fact that you mentioned having to coordinate with other team members and then having it percolate down through as far as what you're going to show us next is important. It's different than if you're just going, okay, Laura, go off and do this job all by yourself, where I'm having to interleave time and effort with other team members.
So this prompt could work in either case, whether you're doing it by yourself or with other people. And then it says, given your current commitments to these steps appear to be achievable, and it gave me some test steps up here. Just a second. It says lead magnet timeline here. And so there's week 1, week 2, and maybe you guys have seen some of this when you were doing yours. I had told it how I wanted this to be laid out. Okay, up in the prompt, there was stuff about markdown language, and so that you get headers, and where I wanted total estimated hours by week, by person, because you can see you've got different people. You'll see the CEO keeps coming in here over and over again. But then there's social media. And this is neat, the deliverable. Again, I don't know that everybody got that because you always get different things when you put things into ChatGPT, but it's given me the deliverables. I went down through each one of these weeks, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
see that we get our total estimated hours for each week, as well as a deliverable. And then you're seeing who's assigned to do which things and the approximate amount of time. And of course, you have to use your own judgment. This is where it's human plus AI. These are guesstimates. It doesn't know how fast or slow I work, or maybe I take a whole lot of extra time editing, or there's lots of things that roll into it. So now I'm getting my total hours breakdown by role. The CEO and founder, 62 hours. The social media and website person, 12 hours, and so on. So the total project hours are 92 hours. And so that came up for me in that little teeny tiny box that kind of went invisible. That was visible on my screen, but as I went back through to review it, I had to click on it right there. So then this is where I'm talking back to it. I'm collaborating with it. Says, I'm not sure my time's a limiting factor. I'll do the bulk of these things, but I see these other roles. And it did. So this is where I got that timeline. I think the timeline popped in afterwards. I went in, I said, I can see the estimated hours for the CEO that will need to extend the time frame out to 10 weeks. I'm going, I can't possibly absorb that much extra work on top of my current workload. Please make the change. And I said, I've also learned that the fastest and easiest lead magnets to create are downloadable guides, checklists, or workbooks, as opposed to videos and etc., case studies, and so on. I've had experience with ChatGPT, so I anticipate that'll help with the time required to create the initial content. Please keep that in mind as you rework the timeline. So it went back through and it reworked the timeline for me.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness. In companies that I've worked with in the past, they've gone, okay, we need this in 8 weeks. Go estimate what the amount of work is, etc. And with that mental block in mind, it never would have occurred to me to go back and say, oh, ChatGPT, no, this amount of work is way too much to get done in that amount of time. Go back and rework it and reestimate. I wouldn't have thought to do that. So that
To
was
say
cool that you
nothing of the
mentioned it.
time for you to sit down and try to figure out if you could get it done in 8 weeks and who's going to do what and how much estimated time per week and how are people going to work it into their schedules and so
Yep.
on.
Yep.
This all happened in a few minutes and we came up with something pretty good.
In seconds.
I'm going to go pull a couple other things back up again here. And how many groups did we have, Rachel? Great. Okay, so I am going to ask somebody from each group to raise your hand. And Rachel, if I can't see everybody, maybe you can help call on somebody, or Laura, either one.
And I'm not seeing any
Be-
hands raised.
Be
so
brave, people.
yes,
Come on.
yes. Go ahead and volunteer and unmute yourself. So
This will
Janice
be a
is
very
asking whether Janet or Hannah might jump in and say something.
I don't mind doing it. So when we were in our groups, Janice had some examples that were really good for the reflections. And so she's an accountant. And so she was asking it to, what she wants to be able to do is actually like record meetings with her clients. And so we didn't really know how to do that. She was talking about some of the other things that she was asking it to help her group. But she said, that would be the most useful thing for her, was being able to transcribe her client meetings, because she's trying to transfer a client from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. And so what's the easiest way to do that, right? And so it did come up with some wonderful suggestions for her, and she would ask additional prompts to make sure that it knew what she was trying to accomplish. And so that was very helpful for her, and she thought it gave back wise responses. But she did say what would be helpful for her is getting the system to actually help her record. And that's like her biggest challenge right now, because she has high level meetings and it's difficult to engage with the customers and then also take all the notes and everything. So that was like the biggest challenge that she's facing right now.
Okay. Can I offer a suggestion? Something that we found, because in the past, I've spent literally hundreds of hours going back through recordings and taking notes and so on to send off to clients. What we absolutely love is we use with Zoom meetings, we use something called Fathom. The paid version is the better. I mean, there's a free version, but the paid version is about $19 a month. And the many, 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 many hours it has saved us is incredible, because it actually records the meeting. The visual part of the meeting isn't all that beautiful, but you get wonderful synopses and summaries and so on. You still have to look through it, but editing is easy compared with creating it. So I will give
And this
that
is for when you're doing
suggestion.
meetings with clients online or remotely in a video conferencing environment.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you so much. And Janet, nice summary. So I do life and financial coaching. And when the client agrees to be recorded, I'm trying to, and I haven't figured it out entirely, but I will look at them. And to transcribe that will save me my transcription into our notes that we've got to keep takes a good hour with each client.
You
So
will save so much time. Actually, I'm going to ask one of my compatriots, Lori, would you send Janice a link to our Fathom? It's Fathom.
I think I've
And
seen that out there before. Thank you so much.
yeah, yeah, that will make you so happy.
Thank you.
And Diane,
Okay.
I think I had seen Veronica's hand go up as well.
Okay, Veronica, unmute yourself and jump in.
Hi, how are you, everyone? I'm Veronica Martinez. But real quick, I think the prompt that you provided was very helpful, right? I use ChatGPT quite often, but what I've had to do is, what did I say last time? And have to go back, copy and paste all the information that I keep wanting to ask. My discussion was on reviewing resumes, right? And this prompt that you provided is a helpful cheat sheet where I just need to go in, change the name of a person and say, these are the qualifications that I'm looking for. These are kind of pinpoint these items. And so it'll help me. So using this prompt was very helpful. And we should be using something like this as a cheat sheet for reoccurring occurrences.
Oh, yeah, and recurrence is really where ChatGPT comes to the forefront. And when I designed this, I went, oh, I could use this for all sorts of projects
Yep.
that are bigger projects that need to be split apart. But whenever you've got anything that's recurrent, learning how to put your prompt together and work with it is really where it shines and where you can start saving lots and lots of time. You can also ask it at the end of the prompt, please estimate how much time this saved me from me doing this manually. And it
Yeah.
will tell you, it'll say, oh, it would have taken you 1 to 2 hours, but we got it done in 10 minutes. So you saved this much time, which you can interpret into dollars.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Very helpful. I appreciate
Oh, good, good.
Thanks,
All right.
Veronica.
Thank you.
Any, who's in our third group that is willing to share some information?
Come on,
Raise your hand.
Pamela, your turn.
Okay, me and Lori was in the same group, and what surprised me is that the detail that I got back from the Chat GPT, it was exactly what I needed. It really was. The information it was really formatted. Yeah, I was surprised to get that back. And then the AI, was it useful? I had to question myself, and when I'm using AI, I question myself because I have to identify what I need first. I'm in the not-for-profit industry.
Uh-huh.
And I also work for a university. So I want to use AI for learning and also for that in the industry. So just gotta identify what I need it for.
Yeah. Sitting down and thinking about what are your needs.
Yeah,
You
what
know,
are my needs?
lots of times those things are just free floating around in our brain. And if you can just jot it down when it goes flying by, and then the next time you get a chance to sit down and use ChatGPT, and then you can also ask it to help you formulate your thoughts. You can even say, I had a vague thought about thus and so, what else might I want to think about in relationship to that? So
Oh, wow.
it's just like having a friend nearby that you can just lean over and go, hey, I was thinking about this, and now what do you think? What do you think about that? You can conversationalize with it. I know that's probably not a word, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, you can have fun with it. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, and I appreciate your doing this. Now we've got a few other interesting things. I would like to take just a minute to do our little advertisement about InfoPlus Consulting. And of course, we do have a lot of my background for the last 30 years has been working with construction and manufacturing, and particularly on the job costing side, which of course, desktop is really the ideal vehicle to do that. And I've also developed some extra products out here that help support that entire process, everything from a lot of online training classes that I put together myself, as well as a pre-done template for construction, finding out what the labor burden is for all the different employees in your company. And of course, these are things that if you have other clients might be of interest to them. We just did a big revamp on our month-end closing system. And yeah, we've got a cool little quiz out there, profitability management tools. For any of you who aren't already on our distribution list, on our broadcast list, you can write us at this email and we will provide that to you. You also get, that's a lead magnet, okay? 10 ways AI training transforms teams and drives results. And for questions or to explore additional free AI resources, this simple group that I belong to has a lot of very cool free resources, as well as the advanced AI training options. And of course, those have a price tag attached to them, but I'll tell you what, if you get into that, they'll pay for themselves many times over. So this is my Calendly link. You can come in, just set up half-hour appointment. I am not a high pressure salesperson. I'll just let you know what's available for you, and then you can make up your mind as to whether you'd like to do anything more. So our AI tips for today have to do with organizing and locating your chats. Now, once I started getting into ChatGPT, I was using it a lot. And then I think there was a spot where I dealt with this particular topic. Now, how do I find it again? Because on the left-hand side, you get this big long list. Just a little tip is also the most recent chat that you touch moves it to the top of your list. All you have to do is if you go back to an old one and you touch it, it moves it right up to the top of your list. But what I did initially was I used naming processes to help me locate a specific particular chats I was looking for. So I would try to be descriptive in my naming. Off to the right hand side, 3 little dots, and one of those is you can rename it. So name your chat. So that's a start. Then if you put names in there also, and it's not only the names but the content, you can use control plus the letter F, and then look for the gold bars on the side, and then you can go move your mouse as to where those little gold bars are on the right hand side, and it will take you back across the different chats where you had that particular key, I call it a keyword in there. But the big thing I want to share is, and this is moderately new, I think it came out about a month or so ago. It's called projects. And on the right side, I just did a screenshot. These just happen to be different projects that I've set up. And it'll display, what have I got here? 5. And then if you want to see the rest of them, you can click on see more. And I've got 5 here and another 5 here. Now you can add colors if you want a theme. Okay, and say, oh, certain kinds of projects, I want a certain color. You can go over and add the color. It's not too hard to find. It's up at the top near the name, and you can edit, and then you can get into the colors. So that's fun, so that they don't all look exactly the same. One thing is that when you set up a new project, the memories are not supposed to, I have been told this, that the memories that you may have from working with different clients don't carry into projects. So if you have different clients and you want to start gathering memories for that client, all right, and work on different things for that client, if you put it inside a project folder, then you can keep those kind of segregated so that they're not bleeding over into each other. It's not picking up your personal or business memories, but it will start retaining those within that client folder if you want to name your project up based on clients.
So Diane, that sounds like you would need to display that project or open that project on the sidebar in ChatGPT and then start a new chat from within that project so that it won't pick up the memories?
Yeah, let's go over here and look. And I didn't do a whole lot of screenshots, but here's my AI workshops. And you can start outside of the project and then move something into a project. So let's just say if I went to this one and I wanted to rename it or move it, I could do this and see I could add it to a project.
Mhm.
Or I could start inside a project if I wanted to keep the memories within the project. Okay,
Mhm.
I could start inside here, and then I could do a new. I could
And
just
start a
start
new
my new
chat from
chat
within the project.
inside
Thank
the
you.
project. Yep, yep.
Thank you for showing me that.
Diane, for those of us that may be a little bit newer to ChatGPT, can you explain what you mean by memories?
Okay, memories. ChatGPT, as you start putting information in, it will remember things about what you put in. Okay, so if you say, I want to, for yourself, let's say that you have a particular philosophical outlook. Okay, and some people go out and use this for Bible study, or they use it for health inquiries, or they use it for their specific business and say, I have these particular goals for my business. I'm heading in this direction. And ChatGPT will remember that. You can also set some things up, and I'll do that in a future tip. There are some background places where you can establish memories. So it again, think of it as a friend, okay, that you get together with, and you're trading stories back and forth. This happened, that happened, and so on. And that friend remembers a lot of what you've talked to it about. And so, for instance, I went out and did a prompt about one of the books, and it came back with all sorts of stuff. I had told it a couple months before and related it to the book that I was doing the prompt for. And I was just absolutely amazed. So, those are memories. The thing is, you don't want your memories bleeding over into your client's memories or the memories from one client bleeding over into another. So if you're a consultant or somebody who's working with different clients, you don't want those overlapping. So thanks for asking that question. Did that help?
Diane, we've got a quick question as well, and I don't know the answer to this. And the question is, do you need to have the paid version to store folders and memories?
I've had the paid version for so long that you could go just, if you're in the free version, just go look and see if you can set up a project. But no, I think everybody can get memories. There are some background places you can put memories in too. But I'm
And of
sorry,
course,
I don't work in the
we're showing
free
you things
version.
in ChatGPT, so the different GPTs, whether it's Copilot or ChatGPT or any of the other GPTs, may behave differently than ChatGPT
AI.
itself.
Yeah, the other AI, the other kinds of AI. Yeah. Okay, so those, at any rate, so you can run an individual chat and then put it into projects, or you can start it from inside projects. You can't really drag and drop it. You have to go over to those little three dots, and you can't currently add something called GPTs. A GPT is something that's pre-built. You should be able to take today's one, the one that I did, but it's not technically a GPT. It's a prompt. Okay, so a GPT is like a pre-programmed set of steps. So those right now won't go into projects. I want to try to get everybody out of here on time. So our last slide is looking ahead. One idea to try. And last time I gave you guys an idea to try. I don't know if you did it or not. If you did, I'd love to have you just send me a little email because we put a lot of work into doing these, and I'd like to hear back from you. But this is our idea to try before our next workshop. And this is just create marketing campaign ideas, brainstorm campaigns to promote your services or target specific industries. So a little easy one you should be able to do on your own. This Friday, we're going to have the customized action book, The Coaching Habit. I have listened to this book with all sorts of great ideas, and I put my description of tired of coaching that doesn't stick. Now, it could be coaching your kids, it could be coaching your clients, it could be coaching somebody inside your organization. And this is how AI tools can amplify coaching, empower teams, and foster growth in every conversation. This was a great book. So if you get a chance to hop in with us, please do. And then our next Tuesday, which is Tuesday after next, we'll be looking at establishing an AI policy. Now, this is something that really holds people back lots of times from adopting AI in their organization is because they don't know how to put together a policy. People are scared. They're going, what if it gives me the wrong information? What if it's not, my information isn't secure, and so on. Let AI help you customize and build your AI policy. I have a pretty darn good prompt that actually came out of the Simple Consultants that I'll be sharing with you. You're all here, so you must have registered, but I put this out here for anybody who's maybe coming in through Alignable that has not registered for our mailing list. So that does it for today, and I've got 3 o'clock exactly on my watch, so I think we made it. Thank you, everybody. And
Thank
we'll look
you.
forward to seeing you next time. And yeah, send me an email. Say hi. Okay? I'd appreciate it. Take care.